Hello everyone and welcome back to Applied Digital Skills. It's fantastic to see you all here for second week of our journey into thriving with technology. I hope you have a great time last week as we opened up the digital toolbox and explored the inner workings of the computers, hardware and software. This week we are shifting gears. If last week was about understanding the engine, today is about learning how to drive. We are going to be driving into the digital dashboard of your computer, the operating system. This is where everything comes together: the files, the folders, the apps, settings, and your control panel for productivity. So go ahead and say hi in the chat. Let us know where you are joining from and one thing you learned last week that surprised you. If today is your first time, indicate this is my first time. Okay, ever feel like your computer screen is a cluttered mess and you are not even sure where to begin? Or maybe you've noticed all those tiny icons lined up at the bottom of your screen. What do they actually do? You are not alone. This is why you are here. Many people feel overwhelmed by the digital workspace, especially when it looks more like a maze than a map. But here's the good news. In the next 1 hour, we are going to turn that confusion into confidence. So by the end of this session, you will understand the operating system in simple terms. You are going to think of the operating system as your city's infrastructure. So it is what keeps everything running smoothly behind the scenes. You learn what an operating system actually does without the tech jargon, why it's essential for managing files, apps, and your overall experience, how it acts as a bridge between you and your computer's hardware. Secondly, you will confidently navigate your desktop. Your desktop is like your home. So your desktop is like your home base in this digital city. You are going to discover how to identify key areas of your desktop, the icons, the folders, the shortcuts. So analyze your layout for clarity and speed. We will give you tips on how to keep your workspace tidy and distraction free. Thirdly, we use the taskbar or the dock in Mac operating system. So you are going to learn about that too. These are your launch pads, the places where you start your journey and switch between destinations. Here you are going to learn how to pin, unpin, open and switch between apps instantly, how to recognize common icons and what they do, how to customize your taskbar or dock to match your workflow. Now the good thing here is that this knowledge syncs across devices. So whether you are using Windows operating system or Mac operating system or Android operating system or even Linux operating system, the principles are the same. So you are going to gain cross-platform confidence, understanding the similarities and differences. Though there might be differences, but at least you understand the basic similarities that will help you to work with any of these operating systems whenever you see them, even without having the in-depth knowledge of them. So let's start with the BOS, the operating system. Now, every single digital device you use, whether it's a laptop, a desktop, a tablet, or a smartphone, has an operating system. It's actually the first thing you see when your device powers on, and the last thing you see when it shuts down. So what exactly is an operating system? It is the master software that manages all your computer's hardware and software. It lets you interact with your computer. So it's sending, when you send in the information, it interacts with that hardware to give you an output. Okay, I'm going to illustrate with this analogy. Think of your computer like a restaurant. You just walk into the busy restaurant, you as the customer. Now you have the kitchen staff, the ovens, the ingredients, all those things in the restaurants. They are the hardware, which we discussed in last session, the RAM, the CPU, the storage, and all that peripherals. But you don't just walk into the kitchen and start shouting, "Hey, this is my order." No, you don't do that. You don't go to the chef directly and say, "This is my order." But you can talk to the restaurant manager, and the manager in person takes your order. And sometimes we have the waiter who might report to the manager. So we are not talking about the whole thing that is within the BOS system. So the manager is the operating system. He takes your order, take it to the kitchen, and the chef and all other things coordinating there, they will make sure that your order is served. And all these things that work behind the scene in the kitchen, you don't even know how it is done. All you need to do is to sit down and wait for your order to be served, and you eat your meal and you go. Everything coordinated behind the scene. That's exactly what the operating system does. It coordinates the hardware and the software behind the scene to ensure that your requests are served. So the operating system talks to the hardware as the manager talks to the kitchen. The waiters, the apps, and the services, they are the ones that are now going to serve you. They check their inventory, which is also the storage and the memory in the computer system, and they make sure your order arrives just the way you want it. All you had to do is to click or tap. That's the magic of the operating system. It handles the complexity so you can focus on getting things done. So if you click the Microsoft Word, it opens for you and you do your typing, do your printing. You don't care to know what happens behind the scene. The operating system handles them effectively. Okay, the first thing you see when your computer boots up is the desktop. Think of it like your physical desk at home or in your office or workplace. A space where you keep the things you need quickly or you need quick access to. You can place shortcuts to your favorite applications, current project files or folders. You can keep them right there. But here is a word of caution. Just like a real desk, if you pile too much on it, it becomes cluttered. and hard to find anything. We'll talk about how to organize this digital mess in our next session. But for here, let's break down the key parts of your desktop. Okay, the first and an important item on the desktop is the icons. So the icons are all these pictures you see scattered all over the desktop. Some of them represent an app. So these are images of apps. Here, Firefox, you see browser, Grammarly, Cockpit. These are apps. Then some of them are folders. These are folders, video, Dell, documents. Now some are files. Some are files which usually are shortcuts. So I can actually bring out a shortcut on the desktop. When I open this file, I right click, look for shortcuts. Okay, click on more options here, then send to desktop, create shortcut. So I have created a shortcut of my CV here. So this is it now. So this shortcut. So all these things you can decide to bring as many of them on the desktop for easy access. Now when you double click on each of these, it opens up. You can as well rearrange the desktop, the icons on the desktop. Okay, this is snapping back because I am automatically arranging the icons, so I can go back to view and remove these auto arrange icons. Then I can actually move the icons to any location on the desktop, wherever I want to place them. So you can click, hold and drag to any location of your choice. Then I can as well decide to delete the icon. Like this shortcut, I don't need you again. I just right click here and I press delete. Now you can actually click delete from the keyboard. So you can delete anything on the desktop if you like. You can group them by moving them to a particular folder to declutter the desktop. If you feel that you have so many icons on the desktop and you want to make your desktop look clean and neater, so you can actually group them. Like I can decide to create a folder here. When you right click on empty space on the desktop, you point to new, you create a folder here. I'm not naming it, you can just name it, okay, just good, and press enter. Then I can decide to move some of these icons inside the folder. So I double click to open this. I can decide to move some of these things inside this folder here. Okay, I click drag and put it inside the folder. Now an easy way to handle that is by right clicking the item and actually click cut. Okay, this is I can just move this. You can easily right click and click cut, then enter here and click paste, and you have moved it here. Now I'm going to return it back anyways. So you can actually group these things inside a folder to declutter your desktop with these icons, and that is how to declutter your desktop with your icons, grouping them together, making sure that some related apps are combined together in a folder, even if you want easy access, and then still place them on the desktop. Okay, the second thing we are going to look at is the desktop wallpaper or the background. This thing you are seeing here, this is the background. Now the background does not do anything. Whether there is a background or no background, your system will be working fine. It doesn't affect the icons. but the only thing is that it just gives it the look and feel of the system. Now you can decide to change the background of your choice, maybe make it a little bit personal using your picture or your organization's image to place on the background just to represent your organization. Now how do you do that? You simply right click an empty space on the desktop, then you now select personalize. I'm actually using Windows 7. Even if you are using Windows 11, if you are using Windows 10, you also get this way. So you see personalize. I say right click an empty space on the desktop, then from the context menu you just select personalize. When you select personalize, the personalization window will come out. Then here you notice that we have different themes. Now it's good to choose a theme of your choice. I prefer selecting themes. It's going to change the entire color and the feel of the system. So if I choose this theme, you notice that the background have changed. Somehow the colors and the settings of certain things will change too. Now if I choose this theme here, you notice that everything here have changed. The background, the taskbar, everything have changed. Okay, so now assuming you want to use your picture, now what you do is there are so many other themes that you can go here, themes, and you see other themes here you can select. You can also browse online for more themes. Okay, let's go back. Okay, if I want to use my personal pictures or images that I place in the pictures folder or anywhere, I can now click on background. Now when I click on background here, now you're going to see personalize your background. Now in personalizing your background, you can choose whether it's going to be a picture, a solid color, or a slideshow. Now if it's a picture, that means you are going to select just one picture. So you are going to browse for pictures and choose a picture of your choice, and that will become your background. Now I'm not choosing that. Now okay, let's just complete it so that you understand what I'm talking about. So I choose my choice like this, choose picture. Then you notice that the picture has become the background here. Okay, now if you decide to use slideshow, if you choose solid color, that means you are going to select a color of your choice. Then if you choose slideshow, then what you are going to select instead of picture is going to be a folder. Now in that folder, you are going to keep as many pictures as possible that will keep on rotating. With time, it will rotate. So this is change picture in 30 minutes, change picture in, you specify how many minutes, maybe 1 minute, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, 6 hours, 1 day. So you can specify how many minutes is going to stay for the picture to shuffle off. Then you are going to click on browse. Then when you click on browse, you select the particular folder you have your pictures in. Then you now click choose folder, and that's it. Your picture will keep on rotating. Now assuming I choose screenshots here, so I will click choose folder. Then you now notice that choose a picture album for a slideshow is here now. Now you see the background have changed to the picture that is in that folder. So this is going to change the background entirely. Now this background have changed. Now this is not it, but I'm just trying to show you something. So that's how you change your background or personalize your background. I'm going back to my initial background I am using. Okay, so you can still return back to your initial background, and that's how you change your background. Okay, the third item you are going to see on the desktop is the taskbar. Now the taskbar is this bar here that runs in the bottom line of your desktop, otherwise called dock in Mac. So here you see this bar here run out, and you see some icons there. It actually displays the start menu. So the start button, there's a search here depending on the Windows you're using. Then you have some pinned applications and the running applications, which is shown with a bar here indicating that this app is running, this app is running, this app is also running. Then you also have the system tray and notification. Now you can actually customize this taskbar. Some people can move it to the right, up, sideways, but you can customize it by right clicking on the taskbar and selecting taskbar setting. Now in our first session we actually use the task manager. Here we are looking at the taskbar setting. So when the taskbar setting opens up, you can check the things you will change on the taskbar. Like here, the task view is on, the widgets are on, so this is on here. I can decide to turn it off. That is off. The task, which is on, I turn it off, and this. Also, the side shows bar, especially the system tray. This is the system tray here. Now you can decide what am I going to show on the system tray. Now you notice that some of these things are off, like the pen menu is off, the keyboard, touch keyboard is actually off because it's displaying when no keyboard is attached. So if you want it to be always on, you can select always on, and this is it here. You can select it here, and that's the touch keyboard. Okay, so I'm going to remove it when there is no keyboard. Okay, so you can also decide to choose what appears on the system tray by clicking here. There you notice, okay, these are some of the things that are off. Then there are still other system tray items like icons, like here. Then you can decide what shows and what does not show. As you can see, so many of them are off here, and so on and so forth. Just the essence is just for you to customize your taskbar. You can actually try to declutter it or make sure that some of these things are here or they are not here. You can customize the notification. You can also customize your date, maybe set your date or time. So these are some of the things you do with the taskbar. We've been talking about the desktop the desktop here actually on Windows. Also, you can, if you are using Mac operating system or you bundle into Mac operating system, into the desktop operating system. Here you also notice that we have you notice that we the taskbar here too. So these are the widgets, and this is the menu bar here. Now the only thing is that what appears in the menu bar is different depending on the app that is open. So on the Mac operating system, the dock serves a similar purpose as the taskbar. It's usually found at the bottom or by the side, depending on where you place it, of the screen, and includes also the shortcuts, the app shortcuts, where you click to launch an app or switch between apps. But the difference here is that you have a trash bin. A Mac operating system, you have a trash bin. You have a trash bin. where deleted files go. In Windows we call it the recycle bin. Then we have that open apps here also have small dots underneath it to show you that the app is currently running. Like in Windows 2, you see a dot under an app that is currently running. So the dock is like where you organize your running apps neatly, or the apps you want to launch fast, very fast. So here we have the apps. These are the apps in Mac operating system in the dock. So this is a download folder here, and this is the trash bin. Okay, so that's the same thing with the Windows operating system. So in case you bond into Mac operating system, it's just the same thing. You can just start from there. Okay, for the taskbar or the dock, let us just look at them and just consider some things. Now let's take a closer look at that bar running along the bottom of your screen. It might seem simple, but it's one of the most powerful parts of your operating system. This bar shows you what programs are currently running, as I said before, which apps you've pinned for quick one-click access. It shows you the system info, like your internet connection volume, then the volume of your system sound. It also shows you the time, like I showed you, but we're going to look at how you can customize some of these things. Now on Windows, it's called the taskbar. Now you have the start menu, access to settings, shut down options. Then we have the pinned programs and favorites, which are always there, and it also highlights the opened applications, which shows you that this app is actively open. Then you have the system tray, which is at the far right, like I said before, with tiny icons for Wi-Fi, sound, battery, and clock. This is your quick glance dashboard. Think of it as your digital control panel. Everything you need right at your fingertips, they are there. Now in Mac operating system, it's called the dock. Like I said, it works similarly like the taskbar. It shows app shortcuts and open apps. Then it shows you a glowing dot which appears underneath any app that is currently running. It also includes the trash bin for deleted files. It's very slick and simple, customizable, just like the rest of Mac OS. Now, the reason I'm just trying to summarize the whole thing here is that I want us to do a quick poll here now. So it's just an interactive poll. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you a question. Type into the chat to give me the answer. It's very, very simple. Very, very simple. Okay, let's see what everyone is using today. Just drop your vote in the chat or comment below if you are watching later. Now the question is, what operating system are you using right now? What operating system are you using right now? Remember, we are just looking at Windows and Mac operating system. Now there are still other operating systems. We have the Android operating system, which mostly you use in your phone, the iOS, your phone, Mac for MacBook, Then we use Windows mostly in most laptops, especially in Nigeria. Windows operating system is all over there. For tablets, you usually will have Android and iOS. Then we also have the Linux operating system, which is somehow popular too within Nigeria, but it's not that popular as Windows. So I don't know the operating system you are using and the location you are. So just tell us which operating system you are using. A, Windows. B, Mac operating system, or something else. Say Chrome operating system, Linux operating system, etc. So if it's not within the A, you can just specify in Sun Solaris, which is not usually available in laptops. Or you say I'm using my phone. Okay, so as we crop the chat window, use the comment. Okay, still looking at the task to look at how you pin and unpin an item on the taskbar. Also, we look at how you shut down your computer. Okay, then let us start with shutting down the computer. Now, because this is a computer using operating system, you don't just switch off the computer like you switch off your television. If you notice, if you have your phone, if you want to power it off, most Android operating system will give you an option of restart or turn off. So when you press it, you notice that the thing will not just go off pim like a television. What it does is to gradually shut down, putting everything in place and puts off your system. So the same thing happens to laptops and desktops. So if you want to shut down your system, it's very simple. You just click on the start button. You notice in the start button you will see a power button there. So you click on the power button and you see restart, which will restart the system, closing all the apps that are open, then restart the system. We call this warm booting. Then we have the shutdown. Now the shutdown is going to close all apps that are open, then properly shut down your system. Then we have the sleep. Now the sleep is going to leave your apps open. All the apps that are working with will still remain open there, so that when you come back, you still have them. I usually use sleep when I'm working, and I just want to quickly go out and see something or do something and come back to continue work. So if you just put it on sleep, you notice that your system will be partially on. The light will be blinking, indicating that the system is on, but it is not on. It is preserving your power, especially for those that are this sleep is basically for those that are using laptops and desktops. You might, if your system on sleep for some hours, coming back to the system will not go to hibernate. Hibernate means that the power goes, will not be seeing the blinking power. System is still on. Whenever you on the system, all the remains open when the system is net, or I call it. Then there is the lock. Now locking your apps, it just lock you out as a person using, there are users using the system. So it will just lock you up as a person. Maybe you want to go somewhere quickly and you don't want somebody to have access to your system. If you have a password, you can just click on lock. Then you will just go where you're going to, so nobody will be able to have access to your system. When you come back, you now still log in back to the system. So that's what you do with this buttons here. Now you can pin, like these apps that are here open, I can decide to close them. Now this, I've closed it. Now this is showing you that this app is pinned here, this one is pinned here, this one is pinned here, this one is pinned here. Now this one is open, though it's also pinned here. This one is also pinned here. Now this one is not pinned here. Now if I right click here, I'm going to see on pin. Okay, I'm going to see pin to taskbar. So if I want this to remain here, I'm going to select that pin to taskbar, and it's going to be pinned. Even though it's still open, it's going to be pinned. Now if I want to unpin it, I will right click also, and I will select unpin from taskbar. Now the same thing happens here. Assuming I want to unpin this, I will right click it and I will select unpin from taskbar. Now it's disappeared here. Now the essence of pinning an app in the taskbar is because it will give you easy one-click access to opening the app. As I just click this Copilot here, now it's just one click, the app is open. Now this is because this app is open. If I want to pin an app here, I can actually select from the ones that are on the desktop. Let me assume the CapCut that is here. I can decide to right click it and look through here. It says pin on start menu. No. So what I'm going to do is to go to start, and this is OBS Studio. I will right click on it. These ones are the ones that are pinned on start menu. So I will say on pin here, and I will say pin to taskbar. So it's here now. So that's how you pin and unpin. I can right click also and say unpin from taskbar. So that's how you pin an item to the taskbar or unpin it. That actually helps you to keep the items you are using often very close to you, so that you can easily have one click to open the app. So we've been talking about the desktop and the taskbar. Now the question is, where do you go when the program you need to work with is not on the desktop or pinned to the taskbar? Wow. You now head to the main menu. That is your digital directory of everything installed on your computer. Hope you understand what I'm saying. We looked at the desktop, and I told you there are icons there for program icons, and we also looked at the taskbar, and I showed you there are items that are still on the taskbar, the ones that you pin there that you have easy access to. Now the question is, when you want to use, for example, in the taskbar windows that I explained earlier, you notice there is no Microsoft Word there, there is no Excel there. Now assuming I want to use Microsoft Word and it is not there, it's not on the desktop, it's not on the taskbar. So what do I do? You know, I've had some people come to me telling me that they don't have Microsoft Word installed in their system. Now these are still people that are trying to learn how to use computers, so they don't really understand these things. So when they come to me saying I don't have Microsoft installed in my system, the first thing I do is to tell them to search for Word. Now most times you don't see them on your desktop, you don't see them on the start, even on the start menu, pinned on the start menu, pinned on the start, not on the start menu in particular, and you don't see them on your taskbar. So the question there is, where are they? Now the answer to that question is that they are on the start menu, because the start menu is the digital directory of every single app that is installed in your system. So the thing here is you click the Windows icon, and the bottom left, if you are using older Windows like Windows 10, Windows 8, Windows 8.1, Windows 10, then you notice that it is not really at the left in Windows 11, but you say in between the middle in Windows 11. So you click on the Windows icon. Now, instead of clicking on the Windows icon, you can as well press the Windows icon on the keyboard. Now, this will open a full list of all your installed apps and programs. Now, for Windows 11 on Windows 10, what you are going to see is pinned programs that are pinned to the start. You are not going to see the entire full list of programs. Now I will show you how you get that in the demo. So you also see shortcuts to settings, power options, and recently used files. They're all there. Okay, so what you do is just very simple to get your program that you are looking for, even a file that you are looking for, is to simply press the Windows key on the keyboard like I said earlier, and start typing the name of the app you want. Then you just see it pop up. That's the fastest way. So if you type on the search and you didn't see anything pop up like the app you want to use, that means the app is not really installed in the system. Now, but on Mac operating system, the menu bar is usually at the top, unlike the Windows operating system, which you click on the start. So the menu bar is usually on the top. Now, things work a little differently on Mac here. The Apple logo in the top left corner gives you system level options like the sleep, the restart, and the shutdown we talked about earlier. Now the rest of the menu bar changes depending on which app you are using. Okay, for example, let's assume you opened Safari in your Mac operating system. You are going to see menus like the file, the edit, the view, and the history. So if you switch to another app, maybe Notes per se, you notice that the menu also adjusts to match the app that is open. Okay, just think of the menu bar as your app specific control panel. It adapts to what you are doing. We're going to look at the start menu and how you locate a program in the start menu. Mostly the program you did not see in the taskbar and the one you did not see in the on the desktop. Okay, so how do you locate an app that you did not see on the desktop or in the taskbar? You simply click on the start button, and these are the items that are pinned to the start menu here. So I can pin an item here. Now if you look here, you see that I did not see some of the applications that I want to work with. So what I'm going to do is to click on all. So when you click on all, you notice that everything that is installed in this system is arranged in alphabetical order. So if I'm looking at accessibility here, I'm going to click here to see all the accessibility, all things that are grouped under accessibility. So you can keep on scrolling down Now, for example, now if I get down to here, you click here, you see all the things that are also under video LAN here. So that's it. You can see all the applications that are installed in your system. Every single one of them are here. Every single one of them are here. Now, if I want to bring an application to the desktop, what I will simply do is, since these apps are here, I'm going to right click. Remember I told you in the previous session that when you don't know what to do, you simply right click and see something. Now this Excel is already on the start menu, so if I'm right clicking here, as I'm right clicking here, what I'm doing is to unpin it from the start menu, but I don't want to do that. So I look at more. Here I see pin to task bar, so I can actually pin it to taskbar. List of recent files in Excel here. Now let's look at this one that is not in the start menu. So here now, pin to start means I can pin it to start. Then I can also pin it to taskbar. So if I click any of these, okay, let me say I click both of them, then you now notice, let's go back, that Firefox is now here in start menu and is also here in taskbar. Now let's assume that you don't want to do all this protocol. The protocol is too much. You just want to get, I want to open Microsoft Access, and I don't want to follow all this protocol. It's very simple. The moment you just press the Windows logo on the keyboard, you just start typing Access. You just notice that Access bumps up. So look at it here. So I can now click to open it. Access opens. Very simple. Now Access is open, and here this is also open. My Firefox is open. Now I told you earlier that windows that are open, you notice that there is a dot under it. Then the one that is currently open that you are using, you notice that the line becomes bigger than the other ones. So what you are going to do here is, if I want to switch to Access, I will just click on Access. Very simple. If I want to switch to this one, I will simply click on this one. It's as simple as that. But you can as well hold down the Alt key and use the tab. You hold down the Alt key and use the tab to move between all open apps, assuming you want to use a keyboard shortcut. So that gives you the keyboard shortcut to use to switch between apps that are open. Okay, so that's how you pin to start, unpin. If I want to unpin from start, I will still right click and choose unpin from start, and that is it. Okay, we've talked about Windows operating system and locating an app. Now let's look at Mac operating system. To locate an application in Mac operating system, you can use any of these three methods. The Spotlight search, which is the fastest method to use. Just like hitting the Windows key and typing, macOS has a powerful search tool called Spotlight. Just press Command plus space bar, or you click the magnifying glass icon at the top right corner of your screen. That is if you are using Mac operating system. in the menu bar. So I told you the menu bar is at the top. So at the far right corner, you see a magnifying glass there. Then a search bar will appear. If you click there or you press Command spacebar, a search bar will appear in the center of your screen. Then start typing the name of the app, e.g. Safari, or the name of the folder, e.g. Of the file, e.g. photos that you want, and hit enter to launch it. Now this is the quickest way to find anything: app, files, emails, or even definition of something in your Mac computer. Now the second method you can use is using the launch pad, which is the visual app grid, just like the start menu command, the start button command menu there. So here the launch pad is like the start menu on Windows. It shows all your installed apps in a grid. Just click the launch pad icon, which is like a rocket icon in the dock. Then browse or search for the application you are looking for and click on it to open. You can also use 4-finger pinch gesture on the trackpad to open the launch pad. Then the third way that you can also use is by using the dock there, which is the quick access, like the taskbar. So the dock is your shortcut bar at the bottom or at the side of the screen. So frequently used apps can be pinned here. So open apps show a small glowing dot beneath their icon. You can drag apps from the launch pad or the finder to the dock to pin them there. In Windows we did right click and that's it then, so you can drag it down to that place. So think of the dock like your digital favorites tray, always within reach. So that's how you locate an app, a file, or whatever in Mac operating system. You can use the spotlight search, the launch pad, or the dock to access your files in Mac operating system. Wow, you made it to this point. You have been amazing. Before we go, let us summarize what we've learned so far. The operating system is like the manager of a busy restaurant. It coordinates all the hardware and software, so you can simply click and type. It's the first thing you see when your device powers on, and the last thing before. So whether you are on Windows or Mac or any operating system, the operating system handles everything behind the scenes to keep your digital experience smooth. Your desktop is your digital workspace. Like a physical desk, it holds icons, shortcuts, and files for quick access. Key elements include the wallpaper, that is the background image, the icons, the shortcuts to apps and files, and the taskbar, which is taskbar in Windows, or you call it the dock in Mac operating system. Keeping your desktop organized helps reduce clutter and boost productivity. On Windows, use the Start menu or hit the Windows key to search and launch apps instantly. On Mac, use Spotlight Search, that is Command plus space, or click on the magnifying glass icon in the top right corner. You can also use Launchpad for a visual grid of apps, or the dock for quick access and switching between open programs. Now, these are the things we have learned in this particular session: the operating system, the desktop environment, and the task bar. And that's a wrap on our tour of the digital cockpit. You now know your way around the desktop, the taskbar, and the start menu. Wow. Hopefully, it feels a lot more familiar now. Now, what questions have you got for me? Feel free to drop your questions in the chat window or use the comments if you are watching later. While I wait for your questions, remember to tune in on Friday at 18:00 Nigerian time. That is at 5 p.m. at 6 p.m. on Friday. We are going to discuss the digital housekeeping, how to tame your files and folders. That's when we'll start building on the things we have learned today, how to create, save, and organize our files so we never have to ask, where did I save that? Again, it's going to be super practical. See you as I wait for your questions. I'm waiting for our questions. If there's no question, I think we will end this tutorial now.